Speed, fame, and a great smile are all words that describe the quickly rising McLaren driver Lando Norris. Welcome back to Apex Media, where today we'll be breaking down who Lando Norris is and how at just the age of 17 he was able to land a spot on the McLaren F1 team. Lando Norris has quickly risen to fame in the Formula 1 series and also surprisingly the Twitch community. But how did he get to be the face of McLaren? Now, in order to even have a chance at a racing career, especially one in the Formula 1 series, you need to have a solid backing and begin at a very young age. And yes, you guessed it, Lando had both. His father is Adam Norris, the 501st richest person in England with a net worth of about $200 million, which made it much easier for Lando to compete from a very young age. Lando started his racing career when he was just 7 years old and claimed a pole position in his first national event. After about 2 years of racing karts, Lando decided it was time for an upgrade after winning CIK FIA KF World Championship, making him the youngest karting world champion ever. Lando would move on to the Ginetta Junior Championship, finishing the season 3rd overall and winning the Rookie Cup in his first year out of kart racing. From 2015 to the end of 2016, Lando would continue on pace to make the Formula 1 series by winning 31 races between 10 different series and also polling 39 times between those series. In early 2017, Lando signed with McLaren as a junior driver, and later that year would begin testing the Formula McLaren car during mid-season. Lando would quickly impress the McLaren race team after setting the second fastest lap record at the Hungaro after his second lap on track. Whether this was pure luck or a mix between a perfectly set up car and a perfect driver, I'm not sure, but regardless, McLaren saw potential, and for the 2018 season, Lando scored himself a spot as an official McLaren test driver and also a reserve driver for the season. His first appearance in the Formula 1 McLaren car would be during the official practice session at Belgian Grand Prix. He'd end up running 26 laps in the session, finishing 18th of 20 cars, but outperforming the other McLaren car driven by Stoffel van Dorn. He'd continue to participate in the practice sessions across the world, and by 2019 he would be contracted to drive full-time in Formula 1 World Championship, partnering with Carlos Sainz Jr. Lando would begin the season doing okay. He had qualified 8th in his debut in Australia and finishing the race at 12th. At his next race in Bahrain, he finished 6th place, scoring his first Formula 1 season points. After this, Lando was plagued with unlucky circumstances. At the Chinese Grand Prix, he had to retire his car after taking too much damage after a first lap collision. Then in Spain, he had collided with Lance Stroll mid-race. Then again, in Canada, his car had suspension failure, causing a brake fire and another retirement from the race. Lando was set to finish 7th place, but once again had technical issues with the car, and the hydraulics caused him to finish 9th after another driver had been found to have a penalty. From here on, Lando began to see more success, finishing 6th in Austria, 9th in Hungary, and a strong 5th place finish, but the success was short-lived. In Japan, Lando would collide with Alexander Albon, who botched an overtake attempt causing damage to the McLaren F1 car. In Mexico, he had been doing really well. Racing in 7th place, he took to the pits for a fresh set of tires. Sadly, the pit crew had a mistake seating the wheel incorrectly. Lando would end up sitting in pit box for 2 whole minutes when the average pit time is less than 3 seconds. He would later withdraw from the race after falling way behind the other drivers. By the end of his debut season, Lando finished overall in 11th with 49 points. Coming into the 2020 season, Lando picked up a lot of attention after streaming on Twitch with various big names and getting a rather large following from non-race enthusiasts. The fans fell in love, especially with how much of a character both him and his fellow McLaren driver had become. At the opening Formula 1 race in Austria for the 2020 season, Norris qualified in 4th place, but would be bumped up to 3rd place after a legendary F1 driver Lewis Hamilton got a grid penalty. This was the highest grid position Lando had earned in his career, and the highest for the McLaren team since 2016. But that wouldn't be the last highlight of this race. Even with a collision and 5 seconds worth of penalties, Lando would cross the finish line in 4th place, but would be elevated to 3rd after setting the fastest lap time to finish 4.8 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. This was his first podium finish in Formula 1 and his fastest lap yet, which was set on the very last lap of the race, making him the 3rd youngest driver to podium in Formula 1 history. At the Styrian Grand Prix, Lando would qualify 6th, but after an incident in practice, he would be bumped to 9th position on grid. This never fazed Lando. In the last 2 laps of the race, Lando would pass 3 cars in the final 2 laps to finish 5th and maintain his 3rd place in driver's standings. Even with everything going on in the world currently, we're excited to see where Lando takes the 2020 Formula season and also his gaming career as he continues to pass time by streaming on Twitch. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe as we upload new content every week.